Hey guys, Nicole here with Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today we're going to show you how we chart and figure out what we're going to breed for the season. So let's get started. Hey guys, so we're in a weird corner. We're at the door of our room, something you guys normally don't see. But right here behind me, we've actually got our breeding chart for this season. It goes all the way up and down. But there's a ton of different ways you can actually chart out what you're going to be breeding for the season. This is just what I like to do. There's a lot of different apps and stuff like Husbandry Pro. But I'm a person who likes to see something in front of me, and I don't want to have to rely on electronics to be able to go through everything, scan barcodes for absolutely everything. So I'm going to show you guys what I do, what I've been doing. I've actually got every chart I've ever had for the last, 8 seasons. All the females. So we're going to zoom in. So we're going to zoom in to show you guys one. So for example, this one right here is our gravel yellow belly. I bought her a couple of seasons ago. The person she was from was Sterling Nelson. She had 5 eggs in 2022. This year she didn't have, this last year she didn't have any with me. She took a break. That's her morph. That's her age. I'm going to be filling out everyone's weight. I just remade these charts, so I haven't filled them out currently yet. And then that's the snake I'm going to breed it to. This is just what I like to do. It'll be easier to show you guys one that has produced. Like right up here, and this is our pied beast. So she's a 2017 beast. We produced her. That's just her name that we like to call her because we have several pieds. It helps keep them all separate. Again, she was born in 2017. She had her first clutch of eggs in 2021. She had 6 eggs. She only had 4 in 2022, and last year she had 7. I actually didn't write down who I was going to breed her with yet because I'm not sure. Only half of these really I figured out for sure who we're going to pair. But again, I put grams and I'll list it right down here. And then I like to put like, for example, this banana pied. She's going to be bred to the pastel pinstripe Benji pied and the Mojave pied. So I'll actually write down the dates, and if I see a confirmed lock, I put a star. And if not, I put a little X. Now, again, there's a lot of different ways to do this. The reason why I do it like this is, one, every time I leave this room, I actually see it, so I can, keep my mind on who's breeding, how long they've been there. What I'll do is, let's say if it's the banana cinnamon pieds breeding the cinnamon pied, I'll write down the date, and then within 3 days, if I've not seen him lock, I'm going to pull him. If he is breeding, I'll let him go until he's completely done. Once my snakes have bred, I will take my males out and they get an entire 5 to 7 days off. Depending on when the feed schedule is, they'll either get 5 or 7 days off and they'll go in with their next female. Every single one of these females, we only need 1 lock per month. 1 confirmed lock. So if my albino pied female locks, March 1st, she doesn't need to be bred again anytime in April. Normally I'll try to stick to April 1st again is when it'll be cycled. And what I do is all my males only have 2 to 3 females for an entire month. A lot of people put a lot more males in, but I find it a little bit confusing when you've got 6 different males breeding to 1 female, or I don't see a really good benefit of putting a male in back to back to back with all of these females. Giving them a break gets them to eat a little bit better, I found, and I'm not in a huge rush. I'd rather make sure that my male is eating, thriving, doing well, rather than really pushing for that lock. But like I said, I'll only do 2, sometimes 3 males at a time per female. We've got quite a few females that are going to be ready. For example, these ones towards the bottom, a lot of these won't be ready to breed yet. That's why they're down so low, but they're getting close. Like I have a super phantom female. She's 1,340 grams. Still probably going to hold off and wait on her. She's only 2 years old, so she'll be 3 this upcoming season for breeding. She's from 2021, but I'll probably just hold off and I like to get them around closer to 2,000 grams or at least 1,800 grams. I find they carry their eggs a lot better. So for example, like that pied I was talking about, beast, she's only had 6 eggs, 4 eggs, 7 eggs. And I started breeding her at 1,700 grams, something like that. 1,650, 1,700 was her first ever clutch. But then for example, my albino pied, I kind of did the same thing. I gave her a year off and I let her get really large. She was like a little over 2,000 grams. So she had 6 eggs in 2018, She had 5 eggs. 2019, she got off 2020. Then in 2021, she had 11 eggs. 2022, she had 11 eggs. And 2023, she had 11 eggs. So it's not always bigger is better, but if they can hold more eggs, they can go off feed without you have to be worrying about them. I'm not talking about the length of a snake, I'm talking about the thickness of a snake. Some snakes I have, like for example, Morel, I don't even have her weight because she is a very long snake. No matter how much I feed her, she keeps growing in length, which is totally fine. Genetically, each snake is different. So, just like people, some are going to be taller than others, some snakes will be longer than others, but she just keeps growing in length. So if she goes off feed to be able to have, let's say, 6 eggs in her, it's not going to be the healthiest thing because she's very slim, she doesn't have a lot of extra body fat, and she just doesn't have a good weight to her. I find when a ball python seems to be fatter rather than longer, then they hold their eggs better. And I'm not telling you to get overweight snakes. I'm not trying to say have super fat snakes. When your snakes turn and their bodies go like this, you should not see a bunch of rolls unless, you know, they're in the middle of ovulating or their follicles are growing really large. Sometimes it'll make them fatter than they are. Even sometimes when they're holding eggs, they'll go a lot larger than they actually are. But you want a snake that looks a little bit thicker. You want anything really slim. Ball python shouldn't look like a blood python, but it also shouldn't look like a corn snake, especially if it's your breeder female. What I normally like to do is I like to weigh them at least once a month, especially the entire year. I don't just do it just for breeding season because then I can kind of track, okay, this girl normally only goes up about 5-10 grams a month. Maybe she goes up 20 grams that month. Maybe she kind of went off feed. Maybe she got really hungry. And then she stops eating altogether, but her weight is still staying consistent, or she's only losing 1 or 2 grams. Normally that means that she's really growing follicles, and the follicle weight that's growing in her is replacing the little bit of fat reserves that is being burnt off in that month of her not eating. If she goes from 1,500 grams to 1,000 grams in 2 months, we got a big problem. There's something wrong. We got to change. She's sick. We'd have to take her to a vet. We have to figure something out. But that's like a worst case scenario. I've never really had anything like that. But that way, just by looking at a simple chart, you'll be able to know that. The biggest thing is I don't really know if my female is going to be taking, if her follicles are growing. I've looked into getting sonograms, but they're quite expensive, and I kind of like not really knowing until I know, if that makes any sense. By just tracking their weight simply, I can almost always tell if a female had just stopped eating for the last 2 months, but she's doing a certain thing in her cage, she's on her cold or her hot side, she's sitting a certain way, I can normally guess within a couple of weeks when she's going to ovulate, and 9 times out of 10, I can, even without seeing an ovulation, I can guess right when the eggs are about to be laid, within at least a week's guess. Nothing wrong with getting something like a sonogram machine, but it's just very expensive for me and I can't afford it. I did actually have a friend who brought over one last season, and quite a few females. He didn't see almost any follicles at all. We didn't think they were going to have eggs, so I kind of was disappointed. I bred it maybe 1 or 2 more times, and then I got eggs 3 months later. So some females can grow follicles way faster than others. Some had humongous follicles and ended up actually having eggs after the ones that didn't really have any follicles. So without me having enough knowledge and background and experience with a sonogram machine, this is what I have found works best. There's so many different ways to do breeding. I'm not telling you to change what you're doing. I'm just showing you what I do and what I've had really good results in. I also like adding to every chart how many that snake has had, and I also put the dates, because a lot of the times, for whatever reason, the snakes seem to have eggs pretty consistently. So for example, my lesser pinstripe, we've been breeding her now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be her 6th season. She almost always has her eggs in July. Don't know why. One time I actually came back. It's called Taste of Buffalo here in Buffalo, New York. You go sample a bunch of food. I went to leave and I checked everybody, and I had 4 females laying eggs, and I was like, I only had 9 females at the time. I went Taste of Buffalo, came back, and then I had 2 more. So I had 6 altogether lay eggs on the exact same day. Only because when I breed everybody, I breed them on the same day. They can be very sporadic. They can be totally different. But for whatever reason, all my females seem to be on the same cycle. They seem to always do things at the same time. But they are all fed at the same time. A lot of them seem to shed at the same time. And I breed them all on the same dates, depending on when everybody is and what mail is available. But this is how I chart my stuff out. Again, it's totally simplified. You could have way better things like Husbandry Pro, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones. Canova has one. I can't really remember what it's called offhand. But again, you could punch things in. They could do it all for you. But this is just what I like to do. And it's free other than buying the poster board every single year. But that's it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We do a new video every single week. So I'll see you guys in the next video.